everyone and welcome to my channel. Today's video is going to be my March update for my shop My Shadows. So in 2019 I'm rotating through my whole eyeshadow collection, and today I'm going to update you about the eyeshadows I have been using in March and share with you the eyeshadows I'm going to use in April. I will link more info and also the playlist of this series down below. So let's just get into this update. First I want to mention my panted palette really quickly. I'm panning this BH Cosmetics Carli Bybel palette. I have panned it almost a year, so it has been in my rotation and it will still be in my rotation a month. I just filmed a panted palette update, so if you want to hear more where I am with this one and how I have been feeling about it recently, check out the update video, I will link it down below. Then another palette that I'm going to mention quite quickly is this BH Cosmetics Modern Max eyeshadow palette, and the reason I'm not going to spend too much time talking about this one is that I'm giving myself time to use this palette the whole spring. And that is for the fact that there are so many eyeshadows here that I think it would be too overwhelming to try to use all of them in 1 month. So I decided to use this for the whole spring, and all of the eyeshadows where you can see this little dot, the dot is nail polish by the way, but all of those eyeshadows I have now used in March. So from the 28 eyeshadows I have used 10 eyeshadows. So I have used the white, the grey, the black and the whole plum pink row. I actually did a look that I really loved. I did wear it in my Pantas face palette update. I did wear in that look some of these pinks in my crease and then a gold eyeshadow in my lid, and I really loved the look. I will give more in-depth review about this one in May's update. Okay, so I do have here 3 eyeshadow palettes that I'm going to review a little bit more. These are something that have been in my rotation for March, and now I have decided what I'm going to do with them, and I'm going to kind of like give reviews. The first of these 3 palettes I want to talk about is something I picked for neutral matte eyeshadows. So this is the theBalm Meet Matte Nude eyeshadow palette. This is one of the oldest palettes in my collection. I bought it in summer 2015. That was when I started to collect makeup, and I did really like this in the beginning, and I do like it. I must say that I don't think the quality is as good what it used to be. I think the shadows have tried just a little bit. I don't say they are completely gone off, but I need to build them a little bit to get the pigmentation, and also they may be a little bit harder to blend what they used to be. But I do still enjoy them and I think they are totally usable. I do have one issue with these theBalm Meet Matte palettes, and I have talked about this before. I think I mentioned it in my February's Shop My Shadows update too. I really don't get the color stories. I think they are weird and the colors just don't go together that well. I mean, I can create some looks using only this palette, but not that many to be honest. I must say though that I don't usually go for all matte looks. Usually if I do have an all matte eyeshadow palette, I use it to complement other palettes or shimmery shadows. It's quite rare that I do all matte looks, and when I do they are usually quite basic. But I just really don't like the color story when it is so weird mix of colors that are so far from each other. For that reason I did depot my theBalm Meet Matte Remoni palette. And for that reason I'm also going to depot this palette. And I have decided to keep 5 of these eyeshadows and 4 I'm going to declutter. Those that I'm going to declutter are something that I just don't like, and I don't see that I have a place for them either in my whole collection or in my C palette. The shadows I'm going to keep, maybe all of them are not unique to my collection, but I see that there is a place for them in my C palette and they go beautifully with eyeshadows I do have there. So yeah, let me go through these shadows and what I decided to do with them. Let's start with the 4 eyeshadows I decided to declutter from this palette. So first one is Matt Johnson. That is this bluish kinda deep grey. I don't hate it, I think it is kinda like nice color, but it's just I don't have colors even close to this in my C palette. Matte Abdul is another shade I'm going to declutter. This one I do actually like. It is this grey eyeshadow. I do have greys in other palettes. I don't think I need to keep this one, and also I mainly have in my C palette some neutral warm eyeshadows, and grey just doesn't go with them. Then Matte Lombardy. It is a yellow eyeshadow. This is for me a little bit too deep to set my under eye with it because it's a little bit deeper than my skin tone, but at the same time I think it's way too light for me to use it, for example, as transition shade, because then it won't show up. I don't know if you can even see it. And then Matte Hung I'm going to declutter. This is probably my least favorite eyeshadow from this palette. It is this plumish grey, and I just don't think this kind of eyeshadows look that flattering on myself. Then the rest of the eyeshadows I'm going to keep. Matte Garcia is a little bit deeper brown. It has quite strong red undertone to it, and I think this kind of browns look good, for example, with rose gold eyeshadows. Matte Malloy is basic matte white. As you can see, I have hit pan. It's really a shade I do use quite often. I use it either to highlight my brow bone or sometimes on my whole lid. Matte Rosen is kind of like a medium brown. It is pretty warm. Matte Garcia does have clearly some red in it, but Matte Rosen is just like brown. Matte Wood is also just like brown, but it is really deep, and I actually do really like this. And then Matte Sign, I am going to keep it. As you can see, I have also hit pan here. This one is a great transition shade for me if I want to go for more pink toned looks, or if I want to go rose gold. And overall I must say that Matte Sign is pretty unique eyeshadow to my collection. For right now at least I cannot think about another eyeshadow similar color to Matte Sign, so I will for sure keep it. Then in March I did have in my rotation this small 6-pan eyeshadow palette from BH Cosmetics. So this is the BH Cosmetics Foil Eyes Cool to Go 6-color eyeshadow palette, and this does have 6 eyeshadows from their, I believe it is Foil Eyes Cool something palette. I must say that I do have some better quality shimmery eyeshadows in my collection. These perform beautifully if I wet my brush, but with dry brush I think they are kind of like lackluster. Also, I don't think they perform that well if I only apply them with finger. Sometimes if a metallic eyeshadow doesn't apply that well with a brush, I usually can get it look beautiful with finger, but these not really. I need to wet my brush. To be honest, I do have silvers that I think are better. I also do have a deep metallic blue that I think is better. However, these purples are something that are really unique to my collection. So there is this light lavender shade. I really do love this more cool toned purple. I did wear it in my February empties video, and I was actually wearing it with brown crease, and I really loved how that looked. Then there is this warm beautiful purple. I might have something similar to this one in my collection, I'm not completely sure, but I love how I do have 3 so different purples in this palette. They are really beautiful, and for those eyeshadows I'm going to keep this small palette. And to be honest, I don't need to get another purple eyeshadow palette, although those are really popular right now. Then there is left only my main eyeshadow palette of March. So my main eyeshadow palette was a neutral palette. It was the ColourPop I Think I Love You eyeshadow palette. This is what the palette looks like, and I really do enjoy it. I'm wearing this palette today. I'm wearing all of the matte eyeshadows, and then I am wearing on my whole lid this beautiful coppery bronze shade, Level Up. This is absolutely stunning eyeshadow. For the price, I feel I shouldn't really complain at all. Like, it's $12 or something like that. Or is it 16? And I think the quality is amazing. The mattes are really good. They are really pigmented. You don't need a lot of building up. Actually, I do think that because they are so pigmented, if you go really heavy-handed with your brush, they may be a little bit difficult to blend out. I must say that these are probably the best quality, really affordable matte eyeshadows that I have used. I do love some matte eyeshadows from different brands too, but I just think these could be compared to high-end mattes. With the shimmers, I must say that there are kind of like two formulas here. The lighter shimmers, they I think are kind of like powdery eyeshadows and they can look absolutely stunning, but these may be a little bit more tricky to apply. I find they really don't work with a brush that well, except maybe with a wet brush, but I find that they apply best with finger because they are kind of like so powdery and for some reason my brush doesn't want to pick up the shadow. But then the rest of the shimmers, I think they are not as powdery. Maybe they are not kinda as foiled, but they are still beautiful metallic eyeshadows and they may be a little bit more easier to work with. I don't mind applying eyeshadow with finger, I tend to do it anyways, even if I don't need to, because I just think it makes eyeshadow pop a little bit better. But if it is a problem for you, then I would not recommend this palette. But overall, I do really enjoy this palette. I really do love the color story of this one. It only has 4 mattes, and for me it is not a problem. If I want to have different mattes, I can reach for another palette, but I know that many people want more mattes from their eyeshadow palettes. I'm fine with these because I think that these matte eyeshadows work perfectly with most of the shimmers. With some shimmers, I might sometimes want maybe like a little bit more red type of or neutral type of brown. For example, there is this beautiful rose gold color called Screw It, and with that one I think maybe this brown here is just a little bit too brown and warm, so I would maybe prefer something like Matte Garcia from the theBalm Mint Matte Nude palette. But overall I think all of the mattes go with all of the shimmers, and if I want to have a different matte, it's not a problem for me to reach for another palette. Overall, I'm really pleased with the shimmers. Like, I do have so many options what I can do. I really don't have that much to complain. The only complaint is that maybe the shimmers, I wish they were more consistent. Like, it's not a problem for me to apply eyeshadow with finger, but I just think they can be a little bit messy. And yes, I don't get fallout with the mattes, I don't get fallout with these shimmers that are more tightly packed, but these lighter shimmers that are powdery, there will be a lot of fallout. I must say I have been watching recently those ranking all of my eyeshadow palettes videos and I have enjoyed them so much. It would be so much fun to do one of those, but I think I'm going to do that kind of video after 2019 when I actually have rotated through my eyeshadow palettes, so I know what I'm reviewing. So I think this one will be quite high in my ranking. Not maybe like the first place, but it will be high. So before we get into the April's picks, I just quickly want to talk about some numbers, how much I decided to keep and how much declutter. So I did have 31 eyeshadows in my rotation, plus 28 in the BH Cosmetics Modern Matte eyeshadow palette, and I'm going to decide the destiny of that palette later. But from the 31 eyeshadows, including my Pantat palette, I decided to keep 27 eyeshadows and I decided to declutter 4 from the theBalm Mint Matte Nude palette that I'm going to depot. So this month there has been least declutters. If there is an eyeshadow in my collection, if there is a palette or a single that I truly don't enjoy, then I'm going to declutter it. But I'm doing this series to get to know my eyeshadow collection, and yeah, this one, it just happened that there wasn't that much that I actually wanted to declutter. Okay, then let's go quickly through the eyeshadows I'm going to use in April, and then of course I'm going to update you about this in a month. So I'm going to keep this BH Cosmetics Carli Bybel palette in my rotation still for 1 month, and in the end of April there will be a finale for this one. I do have here 4 eyeshadows still left. One of them I want to finish up. Then I'm also going to keep this BH Cosmetics Modern Matte Eyeshadow Palette in my rotation still for April. And there is 18 eyeshadows still that I need to use, but I do have 2 months time to use those 18 eyeshadows. And of course, I can wear those eyeshadows too that I have already worn in March. Then in April I have decided to pick some loose eyeshadows to my rotation. I started to collect loose eyeshadows in 2018 and I have thought about this previously, but I don't even know how to really wear them. I think they are a little bit messy. I may have a little bit hard time to make them work and look so beautiful, but I really want to give them a shot. I do have quite much of loose eyeshadows and most of my loose eyeshadows are from collections from indie brands. For example, I may have 3 or 4 or even 5 eyeshadows from one collection. But these eyeshadows over here are from indie brands. I haven't bought a multiple eyeshadows from a one collection, so they are kind of like lonely singles that I do have. So I do have here a couple of full-size eyeshadows from Aromaleigh. So I do have one called Lagertha. It is like a coppery brown shimmery eyeshadow. Then another full-size eyeshadow from Aromaleigh that I have is the eyeshadow Sultry Bloom. This one is kind of like a light pink shade. It does have like a light greenish shift to it. I think it's beautiful and yeah, really spring appropriate, I think. Then I do have here 3 deluxe size samples. 2 of them are from Aromaleigh. This one is Clustered Gleaming. It is like a shimmery brown. It's, I think, more neutral than the Lagertha one. Then I do have another free sample from Aromaleigh, so this is Water Pear. I have a really hard time describing this eyeshadow. It is like this more cool toned greenish, greyish thing. And then I do have one eyeshadow from BH Cosmetics. This one was also a free sample and this is Winona Ryder's Tears and it is like a beautiful shimmery turquoise eyeshadow. These are the single eyeshadows, the single loose eyeshadows I will be using in April. We'll see what I decide with them. I may declutter the free samples. I must say I have a hard time working with these, so I hope I can be just a little bit better at it. In the end of April I probably need to check out some YouTube tutorials. Then I do have here one smaller eyeshadow palette. So this one is the BH Cosmetics Neutral Eyes to Go. And it is similar concept to the Foil Eyes Cool to Cold that I talked about earlier. So this does have 6 single eyeshadows and these are from the Neutral Eyes palette, I believe it is. It does have 28 eyeshadows. 27 of those are neutrals, like different browns, beiges, and then there is one pink, and obviously the one pink is over here. We'll see what I decide to do with this one. This is for sure a palette that I think it's nice, but it's for sure not something I love. So we'll see if I want to keep it or not. And then my main eyeshadow palette for the month of April is going to be the Juvia's Place The Douche eyeshadow palette, and I'm super excited about this one. Juvia's Place is like one of my favorite eyeshadow brands, and this is now the first palette of them this year that I will be using. So this is what the Douche palette looks like. I think it's really spring appropriate, so I think now is the best time of year for me to reach for it, because I'm somebody who tends to wear eyeshadows or clothing or whatever that I feel is seasonally appropriate, and this is just so springy to me. And yeah, I like it. I feel it's kind of like pastel-y, and usually those kind of eyeshadows are not what I reach for. Also, I must say, sometimes Juvia's Place eyeshadows, the color stories, they really don't make sense for me. And for example, I do think that this Creeps eyeshadow here is so random, and I just don't see it going that well with the rest of the palette. Maybe it is just me and the lack of creativity in me. However, it's going to be my main eyeshadow palette of the month, and I for sure can create some beautiful looks using only this palette. Then sometimes maybe I will use this palette with the other palettes or with the loose singles. I have decided to use in April, who knows, but I think now is the right time of the year for me to reach for this. I think this palette I'm for sure going to keep, but to be honest, I have sometimes thought about depotting this, but right now I don't think I will do it because I don't have that much space in my C palette, and yeah, I don't think I'm kind of ready to depot my Juvia's Place eyeshadows. But anyways, that was everything for today. I'm super excited for my picks for April, and yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please put thumbs up and see you in my next video. Bye bye!